Frank has certainly given us a lot to think about, so I apologize we're going to be a little bit over our time. Hopefully you can say, if not, I understand. Here we go. Here at St. Bridget, we are blessed with so many families who've been able to provide their children with many opportunities to support their learning process, such as coming to school ready to learn. You have read to your children since birth, you've provided quality preschool experiences, enriched home experiences, books, travel experiences, technology, educational toys, and you instill the high expectations and an appreciation for learning that Frank has been talking about. In general, our students are capable learners, poised to be successful in the 21st century, and we are partners with you in this endeavor. As we learned in this September Symposium, the 21st century learner must be prepared differently from the days that you and I were in school. Just as the science of technology has evolved, so too has the science of education. Remember the computers that filled the whole bank or business offices? Remember the mobile phones that were large and were carried around in shoulder bags? Remember cassettes, 8-track tape players, and old electric typewriters? Well, education has also progressed. We now use technology as one of our learning tools. We know that the skill of learning how to learn is equally important as the content. Brain research teaches us about different learning styles, and we also know the importance of assessment and data collection as we try to improve student learning. Standards-based education has been studied and evaluated for many years, as Frank has pointed out. The Diocese of Columbus made a decision 15 years ago to study the possibilities of standards-based education to enhance our learning environment. A standards-based report card was adopted 10 years ago with the intent of communicating more clearly and specifically to students and parents about students' strengths and challenges. Most of us in this room did not have the opportunity to experience standards-based education and assessment when we went to school. Many of you are far more comfortable with the reporting system of our youth, A's, B's, and C's. Of course, none of you probably never saw an F on your report cards. But today's education demands a sharper, clearer, more focused picture of what a student knows, just like our new HD TVs. I asked several weeks ago for emails and questions that you would like to have addressed at this session. Frank has answered some of them in his presentation, and I hope to do the same in some of my remarks. Some of you have expressed that you are concerned that you don't know what a check mark really means, or where your child stands in relation to others in the class. At St. Bridget, we use many methods to assess students' work. This slide shows, I don't know that you could read all of them, but it shows all the different things that are going on every single day in the classrooms that are part of the assessment, formative assessments that Frank talked about. So one word or one letter grade wouldn't answer the question about where does your child stand. Teachers track a multitude of standards and report to students and parents on specific elements of all curriculum areas. A check mark is earned for demonstrating mastery of a particular subject, which means that the student has demonstrated a solid understanding of the concept or skill as described on the rubric. There's a misconception that the check mark represents a wide range of understanding. It does not. It represents mastery. An I is earned if the student is not able to show a clear, accurate, and consistent understanding of a particular aspect of a subject area. An N indicates not progressing. This is rare and it's reserved for situations in which the student has a misunderstanding of the standard being assessed or is not demonstrating any progress. The plus is used to indicate that the student has gone beyond expectations, has demonstrated a higher level of understanding than is required at this particular time in the progression of learning the standard. It is very difficult to receive a plus because it is beyond mastery. A word of caution though, you cannot translate a plus, check, I, or N to an A, B, C, or D. Because we are all tempted and we want to use shortcuts in today's hectic world. We all set up shortcuts on our computers, take us directly to a program or website, We set shortcuts on our cell phones to call our family and friends. So we no longer remember the whole process of how to access a program. We no longer remember phone numbers. We just go straight to the shortcut. It is the same with the letter grade, such as an A, B, or C. This is a shortcut to understanding. A shortcut to understanding where does your child stand. It doesn't really help you to know what aspects of the subject your child knows or doesn't know. Knowing your child's understanding of math, reading, science, and social studies takes time, both on the part of the teacher and on the part of the student and parent. It means sitting down and looking at Friday folders and talking about the learning from the week. It takes looking at all the different standards listed on the report card and discussing them with your child. It takes looking at rubrics and understanding what is needed to show mastery. The next area of parent concern I'd like to address is how do our students transition to high school. St. Bridget students can handle the rigor of the high school program. They are well prepared academically. They use critical thinking and problem-solving skills, and they have the opportunity to be flexible and adaptable to different learning situations. I say this with confidence, as our current assessment system demonstrates that students have mastered the diocesan course of study and the standards from the state of Ohio. These are all necessary elements for a successful transition to high school and to whatever assessment or reporting system the next level will be using. St. Bridget students have learned how to learn, and they will adapt quickly to any assessment situation. At the recent open house at St. Charles, a few parents have reported back to me that the assistant principal announced that students always transition quickly to the different grading system because they know how to learn, and they are flexible, and they're adaptable. And just this past week, 6 of our former students, now Watterson freshmen, said to me unsolicited that they were very well prepared academically for high school. They were thanking us. In fact, they said they were the best prepared for any of the feeder schools in any of their classes. You can only imagine these 6 girls in my office saying this. Very exuberant. The teachers like to call on them, they said, because they know they can count on them, and the St. Bridget students will know what they are doing at school. Our students have great work ethic. This is necessary for the independence that high school demands. At St. Bridget, students must do their homework and do it well, or they will serve academic detentions or homework table. Homework here is seen as formative. Frank talked a lot about formative assessment. It is learning along the way. It must take place for the learning process to be effective and for the student to reach mastery. Our students are very well prepared academically. And one way of assuring that we are on target with our instruction is by participating in standardized measurements of learning. I'm going to show you some slides that show select scores from Terra Nova. This is grade 4 reading for the last 3 years. St. Bridget scores are green, diocese pink. As you can see, we do very well when compared to the diocesan average. The next slide is 4th grade math. The next one, grade 4 total, which is a total of reading, language, and math. Grade 6 reading. Grade 6 math. The total of grade 6. Grade 8 reading, math, and the total. You can see how consistently we score well above the diocesan average. The next slide is the Ohio graduation test scores from 2010. Again, we are green, diocese is pink. The diocese does very well on the Ohio graduation test. St. Bridget students do even better than the average for the diocese. Frank talked a lot about motivation. Do letter grades lead to motivation for learning? Do grades have a negative or positive effect on students? These are the next areas of parent concern I'd like to address. Intrinsic motivation, of course, is the ideal. We want students who love to learn for the sake of learning. There's a new way to look at motivation, author Daniel Pink challenges the notion that motivation is driven by the carrot and stick, i.e. letter grades. In his new book, Drive, Pink describes Motivation 3.0. Pink states, Motivation 3.0, the upgrade we now need, presumes that humans also have a third drive, a drive to learn, a drive to create, and a drive to better the world. Standards-based education helps prepare our students for this new world of motivation. It is focused on identifying what a student knows and doesn't know, and then providing information to help the student achieve the standard. It provides clarity of what the student needs to learn. Standards-based grading is about equity and not measuring kids against each other, but measuring them against the standard. In this model, students are driven to create their own knowledge. At the time that the traditional A, B, and C grading was developed, it was to sort children and create a ranked order from lowest to highest. In our standards-based system, our teachers provide high-quality, differentiated instruction to work with all students and to ensure they all are provided multiple opportunities to meet the standard and understand an academic concept. Our teachers become motivation facilitators. Students in a standards-based system build intrinsic motivation because they ultimately own their learning. Let's take a minute to think about our St. Bridget motivation facilitators. Think of the teachers here on our staff who have inspired your child to develop the love of reading, so much so that they can't put a book down. Think of the teachers who have lit the fire of learning about science, the teachers who have encouraged students to perfect their writing so that they can enter into contests and win. Think of the teachers who have ignited the love of learning in their child so they want to join an after-school club based on academics. We often have waiting lists to get into our after-school programs for science, writing, reading, and math. We truly have motivation facilitators here at our school. Standards-based systems build on this notion that humans want to learn, they want to create, and they want to better the world because they are not ranked and labeled from an early age. Instead, students are supported and nurtured by a standards-based grading model. This is what we do best at St. Bridget. We care about our students. Standards-based grading separates behavior from the demonstration of learning goals. Frank talked a lot about that. Here at St. Bridget, we use our own uniquely designed quality and effort rubrics so that we can clearly communicate to you about effort and quality separate from our academics on our standards-based report card. Grading the behavior of participation tends to punish less outgoing students. These factors ultimately become roadblocks for those students. We don't want to provide that for our students. Our school mission statement calls us to inspire and support our students to be successful and to maximize their potential as learners and leaders. I know that many of you have friends in other parish schools, and some of your conversations revolve around the differences in the reporting systems around the diocese. But I am proud of our school, and I know that you are too, and we're not afraid to follow the road less traveled, and we will not seek those shortcuts where our students are concerned, because we are committed to following and implementing the best practices because we know it's what is best for our children. We have studied, researched, field-tested, and continue to take opportunities like working with Frank in order to be the best that we can be. From St. Bridget, you can be guaranteed our students will take with them content knowledge, Catholic faith formation, patterns of intrinsic motivation, and 21st century learning skills. These gifts are the cornerstone to lifelong learning, which will sustain our children and be ever more important as the 21st century progresses. And that is our conclusion of our academic portion of the season. I'm sorry it was so long, but I hope that you'll feel free to join us for refreshments in the cafeteria. And Frank and I will be available for questions. If you want to write questions on a card, we can get back to you later. Please feel free to do that. And I really appreciate your attention and joining us this evening. Thank you.